friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 26th of October and we are going to deal with three very important topics which are in news. The first is PM Modi meets the Russian president. This meeting was on the sidelines of the Kazan BRICS summit, just like the Indian Prime Minister met with the Chinese president. Before meeting the Chinese president, the Indian Prime Minister met with the Russian president. Obviously, on agenda was the Russia-Ukraine war and finding ways to bring in peace. Apart from it, both the leaders also pledged to upgrade the trade target between India and Russia to $100 billion by 2030. What is the current trade? The current trade is somewhere around $65 billion, with Russia enjoying a huge trade surplus over India. Means Russians exports are more to India as compared to Indian exports to Russia. Well, this $100 billion target will be good, will be sustainable if India's exports to Russia increase and the trade deficit for India is reduced. Next is IAEA report on climate change and nuclear power. How can we correlate climate change and nuclear power? So, climate change is largely due to carbon emissions, and nuclear power is not leading to carbon emissions. Nuclear power is a non-fossil based fuel. And with the increase in the intensity of climate change in the recent past, the focus has been shifted towards non-fossil based fuels. Non-fossil based fuels include renewable energy as well as hydropower as well as nuclear power. Japan, a country which chalked out a plan that it is going to give up on nuclear power generation, has again revised that plan and adopted the position which was earlier, means it is now generating power through nuclear power. Next is bioluminescence at the beaches in Chennai. Bioluminescence is when small organisms they emit light. Why do they emit light? They generally emit light for communication, for attraction, or they do it by secreting certain enzymes. Well, this is not the first beach in India where bioluminescence has been, witnessed. We have witnessed bioluminescence in beaches in Karnataka, in Andaman Nicobar Island also. But yes, it is a sight to behold. But yes, on the other hand, if bioluminescence is happening too much, it also highlights that the water quality is deteriorating. It can also be a threat to the marine biodiversity. So, both things need to be taken into account. Then we'll move on to the MCQs and discuss the answers to the MCQs. The first topic, PM Modi meets the Russian president. So, this meeting was the second meeting between these two leaders in the last 2-3 months. A few months ago, the Indian Prime Minister visited Russia on a state visit where he was awarded with Russia's highest civilian honor as well, the Order of the Apostle the Great, something like this was the name. And this meeting was on the sidelines of the 16th BRICS summit in Kazan. The Indian Prime Minister invited the Russian President for the 23rd India Russia Annual Summit, which is going to happen next year. This year, when the Indian Prime Minister visited Russia earlier in June, it was the 22nd India Russia Governmental Summit. So, next summit is in India. Now, key details of the meeting. They talked about bilateral cooperation. They reviewed cooperation in several sectors, including political, economic, defense. So it is there. Energy, it is too much there because Russia is our largest supplier of defense as well as largest supplier of oil now. People to people ties, this is increasing. Press release from Prime Minister's office noted the importance of these areas. Previous meeting, this was the second meeting in 2024. They had previously met in Moscow for the 22nd India-Russia Annual Summit in July 2024. So it was July, not June. So gratitude and appreciation. PM Modi thanked President Putin for his invitation to the BRICS summit. He appreciated Russia's chairmanship of BRICS, emphasizing its efforts to strengthen multilateralism, advance sustainable development, and push for global governance reforms. So multilateralism was the key over here in this year's BRICS summit. And as we saw yesterday, the theme for BRICS summit was also focused around multilateralism. So they are wanting to increase or strengthen multilateralism. That is it. Upcoming events, the leaders welcome the forthcoming meeting of the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission. This is an institutional organization between India and Russia. And this India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission, IRIGC, it is called as, it is an institutional setup through which both the countries further their ties on trade, economic, cultural matters scheduled for November 2024 in 2000 in New Delhi. This is so the discussion topics. What were the topics for discussion? Obviously, we can reckon by now that one of the topics, that is the Russia-Ukraine war, would have been there, but there was beyond that. Obviously, these leaders will not be only discussing that. So first was multilateral engagement. They exchanged views on India-Russia engagement in multilateral forums like BRICS, SCO, even United Nations and all. Particularly BRICS they were talking about because this meeting was on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. They shared thoughts on key regional and global issues of mutual interests, including the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Then dialogue and diplomacy. PM Modi reiterated that dialogue and diplomacy are essential for resolving the conflicts. He stated, I have been in constant touch with you on the subject of the ongoing conflict in or between Russia and Ukraine. So yes, India has been advocating peaceful resolution, timely resolution. This era is not an era of war iterated by the Indian Prime Minister in 2022. I was never neutral in the war. I was always on the side of peace. This was said by the Indian Prime Minister in Ukraine this year. Indian Prime Minister is one of those few prime ministers in the world who has been meeting with both the Russian leaders and the Ukrainian leaders. There are very few leaders who have done that, very few, handful of them. And obviously, we are trying to, bring this war to an end. But here you have a catch. If a question is asked that is India mediating in the war? Is India mediating in the war? So the answer to that is very calibrated. This question was asked from our External Affairs Minister, Mr. S. Jaishankar, and to this question, he replied that we are not mediating, we are communicating. Because as soon as you get that tag of mediator, a lot of expectations rise. And mediators are generally criticized. Criticized by the world, criticized by both the parties among which you are mediating. So India does not want that. As simple as that. So we are, keeping a very calculated stance for ourselves that we are just communicating. That is it. He expressed India's support for an early resolution of the conflict and establishment of peace and stability. Strengthening partnerships, both leaders agreed to remain engaged to further strengthen the special and privileged strategic partnership. Special and privileged strategic partnership is the partnership between India and Russia, how we define it, and we maintain to strengthen it, deepen it. Obviously, we are talking about increasing the trade to $100 billion by 2030. Obviously, we are talking about increasing our engagements in multiple other sectors. So that becomes very important. Now, PM Modi's remarks. Close coordination. PM Modi mentioned that his two visits to Russia in the last 3 months reflect the close coordination and deep friendship between the two countries. He expressed enthusiasm about participating in the BRICS summit, noting the identity of BRICS has attracted interest from many countries wanting to join it. More than 50 countries are wanting to join it at the moment. Support for peace, he stated, all our efforts give priority to humanity. India is ready to provide all possible cooperation in the times to come. And he also talked about a new consulate in Kazan. PM Modi highlighted that the opening of India's new consulate in Kazan would strengthen ties with the city, acknowledging India's deep historical ties with Kazan. So this was the highlight of Indian Prime Minister's meeting with the Russian President. Now the next topic which we will be picking up is IAEA report on climate change and nuclear power. IAEA stands for International Atomic Energy Agency. It is a related organization under the United Nations. Its main job is to ensure peaceful usage of nuclear technology and fuel. Peaceful usage includes electricity generation. It includes medical purposes or medicinal purposes, like you treat cancer, you use nuclear fuels for chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and all. Whereas on the other hand, there are military uses of nuclear fuel and technology, that is, you convert it into a bomb. So this IAEA has to promote peaceful usage, one. And peaceful usage, we are specifically focusing upon electricity generation over here. And we are linking this peaceful usage, that is electricity generation, with climate change. Climate change is happening, that is a fact. And climate change is happening due to carbon emissions, that is another fact. Carbon emissions happen due to burning coal or burning fossil fuels, I would say. So the need is to burn non-fossil fuels because we can't stop developing. The non-fossil fuels includes renewable energy like solar, wind, and all. It includes hydropower like dams and all, and it also includes nuclear power plants. Yes, it is a non-fossil based fuel. There are no carbon emissions. Although there are hazards of radiation leakage and all, but that is a different thing. We're talking about climate change. That does not happen. And that is why there is a push for more and more nuclear power generation in the last few years. We're talking about small modular reactors also now. Small modular reactors are those reactors which uh, can generate 300 megawatts of electricity. They have to, they're not so bulky. And since they're not so bulky, they're not so big, the amount of radiations getting leaked is also reduced. So let us see what this report was all about. 2024 edition of IAEA report on climate change and nuclear power was released, emphasizing the need for a significant increase in investment to meet goals for expanding nuclear power. So obviously money is required. So that will be required over here. Report was launched last week during the Clean Energy Ministerial CEM in Brazil. So climate change and nuclear power. This was basically the report. Key findings: there is growing interest in nuclear power. Obviously, there will be growing interest because climate change is happening. There is global interest. Nuclear power is gaining traction as countries aim to enhance energy security and reduce carbon emissions. Net zero goals, a rapid expansion of clean energy technologies is necessary. So, this is considered as a clean energy technology, which is necessary to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. IAEA predicts a capacity increase of 2.5 times the current level by mid-century in its high case scenario, that is by 2050. Whatever this usage of nuclear power right now is, it will be more 2.5 times more. Investment needs will be there, obviously. Current investment, global investment in nuclear energy must increase to $125 billion annually, up from $50 billion invested each year from 2017 to 2023. Aspirational goal, tripling of capacity, which more than 20 countries pledged to work towards COP28 last year, would require upwards of $150 billion in annual investment. So, India is also one of those countries who said that it will triple its nuclear power generation capacity. But there are challenges in financing that was also highlighted in this report. So, Director General statement: IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi noted across its near century long lifetime, a nuclear power plant is affordable and cost competitive. Financing the upfront cost can be a challenge because constructing a nuclear power plant and all is expensive, no doubt about this fact, especially in market driven economies and developing countries. He emphasized the need for private sector and other institutions to contribute to financing. Engagement with development banks. IAEA is working with multilateral development banks like the World Bank or the NDB in BRICS to finance projects with respect to or projects related to nuclear power generation. Unlocking private sector finance. So there's this global interest. Last month, 14 major financial institutions, including some of the world's largest banks, gathered during New York Climate Week to show their willingness to help finance nuclear power projects. CEM role report was presented at side event organized by the IAEA and the CEM Nuclear Innovation Clean Energy Future NICE initiative. So, mainly the focus was to increase focus on nuclear power generation because this is a non-fossil based fuel. Although there are hazards of radiation leakages and all that have to be tackled. Collaborations and discussions, key participants. The site event featured speakers from Brazil, the IAEA, the International Energy Agency, the USA, discussing how to secure capital for nuclear power projects. Future outlook: financing the clean energy transition will be a significant topic at COP29 of UNFCCC, which is going to happen in Baku, Azerbaijan. And this is going to happen, somewhere soon, I would say, in November, I think. Impact of sustainable financing, EU taxonomy, nuclear power's inclusion in sustainable financing frameworks, such as the European Union taxonomy for sustainable activities. The first green bonds for nuclear power were issued in Finland and France in 2023. EDF's involvement, Electricité de France received 4 billion euros in green bonds and around 7 billion euros in green loans between 2022 and 2024. So, green bonds are basically those bonds which are raised or which are issued to raise money for, I would say, renewable energy projects or sustainable development projects, as simple as that. Now, recommendations for the future. Capacity growth has to be done. To achieve climate change goals, global nuclear capacity needs to increase rapidly by a factor of 1.8 by 2035. Means whatever our efforts to combat climate change is, we have to increase it to 1.8 times, nearly 2 times by 2035. According to Sylvia Baer, a senior energy policy analyst at the IEA. Needed financing mechanisms that support scale, workforce, and supply chain developments are also essential. Talking about policy reforms, the report advocates for policy reform and international partnerships to bridge the financing gap and accelerate nuclear power expansion in emerging markets. So basically, this finance and all will be needed by the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries. If not given, then they will be continuing emitting carbon emissions. They will be continuing to generate electricity by burning coal and such like, which is obviously not going to benefit the world. So it is the developed countries which need to understand this financing wala part. Now about IAEA. What is IAEA? As I told you that it is the related organization under United Nations. It is leading international forum for scientific and technical cooperation in the nuclear field, commonly known as Atoms for Peace and Development organization within the United Nations system. So within the United Nations system, it is related organization. Agency promotes safe, secure, and peaceful use of nuclear science and technology. Headquarters, Vienna, Austria. Membership currently has 178 member states. Talking about history, IAEA was created as an independent organization through its own international treaty known as the IAEA Statute. It operates autonomously but reports to both the United Nations General Assembly and to United Nations Security Council. By Security Council, because the, I would say, element which it is regulating, that is nuclear fuel and nuclear technology, can be used for military purposes as well. Structure. There is a general conference. This body consists of all the members who are part of IAEA and meets annually to approve the budget, programs, and discuss general policies of the IAEA. Then there is this board of governors made up of 35 members who meet about 5 times a year. They are responsible for carrying out the agency's functions, approving safeguards, agreements, and appointing Director General of IAEA. Functions: promotion of nuclear technologies for peaceful purposes. That is the catch over here. Nuclear safeguards, whatever nuclear safeguards have to be taken to reduce leakages and all, those have to be adopted so that human life is not at threat or the local biodiversity or flora and fauna is not at threat. NPT safeguards. NPT is Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. This was treaty which this was signed in 1968, came into force in 1970, and this treaty is basically aiming to halt or stop the spread of nuclear weapons in the world. 191 countries presently are signatories of this particular treaty, and you know you cannot possess nuclear weapons if you have signed this treaty. Only 5 countries are allowed to possess nuclear weapons. That is Russia, USA, UK, France, and China. These are the permanent 5 members of United Nations Security Council. Apart from these 5, if you have signed this treaty, you are not allowed to possess nuclear weapons ever. Well, India possesses nuclear weapons because India has not signed this treaty. So, whatever are the provisions of this treaty, those have to be followed by the signatory countries. This IAEA has to ensure. Technical assistance. It provides assistance to member states and promotes the exchange of scientific and technical information for peaceful use of nuclear technology. Incident response enhances capacities to respond to nuclear and radiological incidents, which is crucial for minimizing the impacts. So, in case if any accident happens or incident happens, then it comes into picture. It helps in minimizing the impacts of that. And the last topic is bioluminescence at Chennai beaches. So, bioluminescence looks like this. The water will be, shiny because of the marine organisms over here which are emitting light. This light is generally found in basically this light is blue color if it is in the waters. Generally, it has been found. Beaches in Maldives are known for this. Beaches in India also are known for this. There are beaches like Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andaman Nicobar Island. So, first of all, we should know that this particular bioluminescence episode in Chennai beaches is not the first ever in India. And we should understand the science behind that. So, Chennai residents recently experienced a stunning natural phenomenon as bioluminescent waves. So, whenever the word bio is there, so it should mean living. Living can be flora or living can be fauna. Luminescence means light. So, when light is being emitted from a living organism, and in this case, it is fauna which is emitting this light. So, beaches near Thiruvanmiyur and Karai. This attracted numerous onlookers, sparking both wonder and scientific interest. So, as a UPSC aspirant, obviously, this is a sight to behold for anyone, but yes, we should know the science behind that. Now, what is bioluminescence? First of all, it is the production and emission of light by living organisms. So, living organisms, bio word is there, so living organisms automatically understood, primarily seen in marine environments. Key organisms, the phenomenon is mainly caused by microscopic plankton known as dinoflagellates, which emit light through a chemical reaction when disturbed by wave action. So, they emit light through a chemical reaction. Functions: marine organisms utilize bioluminescence for three purposes. One is defense, dissuading predators. Second is attraction, luring prey. And third is communication, interacting with other marine life. So these are the three reasons why light is emitted. Mechanism: light is produced when the enzyme luciferase reacts with the compound luciferin in the presence of oxygen, resulting in a cold light that can be seen in the dark conditions. So it is all about enzyme secretion and the secreted enzyme meeting with another I would say thing in the body, and then light gets emitted. Circadian cycle: bioluminescent organisms often follow a 24-hour cycle, making their glow most visible at night. Obviously, in the daytime, their glow will not be so much visible. Occurrences: similar bioluminescent phenomenon have observed in various locations across India. Havelock Islands, Andamans, Mattu Beach, Karnataka, and Bangaram Island in Lakshadweep as well. Scientific insights: the recent heavy rainfall in Chennai likely introduced nutrients into the coastal waters, creating favorable conditions for the proliferation of Noctiluca scintillans, a common bioluminescent species. Cooler sea surface temperatures may have also contributed in this. Environmental indicators: while display is breathtaking, no doubt about this fact, it could signal changes in marine ecosystem. Changes in marine ecosystem are happening, that due to which these bioluminescent episodes are happening. Large blooms of bioluminescent organisms may lead to decreased oxygen levels in water, which can negatively affect marine life. Environmental concerns: pollution link can also be there. Experts caution that instances of bioluminescence can be linked to increased pollution levels, raising concerns about health of coastal ecosystems. Biodiversity impact: large blooms may disrupt local marine biodiversity and food chains, prompting discussions about conservation efforts. Pros and cons. So there is pros means public awareness. Events like this can raise awareness about marine ecosystems and the need for conservation. It can boost tourism also, no doubt about this fact, because the residents in Chennai have become excited. Cons: environmental impact, increased foot traffic to natural sites can lead to habitat degradation and pollution over there. And short term focus: the allure of such phenomena may overshadow the ongoing environmental issues that need more sustained attention. So there are pros and cons both of such kind of episodes which happen. Now the MCQs. First, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. India and Russia established an institutional mechanism for deepening their bilateral ties. Second, India and Russia aim to increase their bilateral trade to $100 billion by 2030. Which of these statements are correct? So I've mentioned both of these, and you have to find out whether these are correctly mentioned in the question or not. The Clean Energy Ministerial 2024 was hosted by which country? Argentina, Brazil, USA, or Nigeria? Third, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. IAEA is a specialized agency under United Nations. Second is IAEA is headquartered in Vienna. Only one, only two, both one and two, neither one nor two. For what purpose marine organisms use bioluminescence? Defense, attractions, or communication? You have to find out the correct combination. And the last question, consider the following statements and mark the correct ones. Bioluminescence can be linked to decreasing oxygen levels in the marine ecosystem. Second, large blooms can lead to ecological concerns as it can disrupt the marine biodiversity. So, which of these statements are true with respect to bioluminescence? Now, the answers to the MCQs of yesterday. What was the theme for BRICS Summit 2024 held in Kazan? Forward together we go, reform for relevance, shared effort, progress for all? No. Shared effort, progress for all was basically a theme adopted by India and USA in 2015 when Barack Obama visited India. Reforms for relevance was talked about the Indian leaders when they were present at the United Nations General Assembly this year. Forward together we go, nothing of such sort. Strengthening multilateralism for just global development and security. This is the correct answer for this. Second, which of the following multilateral institutions was under discussion for reforms in BRICS Summit 2024? It was UNSC also, it was WT also, Bretton Woods and all. So, both 1 and 2, C is going to be the correct answer for this. Third, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. BRICS Grain Initiative is an initiative for attaining food security. Yes, definitely it is, where food grains can be sold and purchased. India will host the 2025 BRICS Summit. No, India is not going to host it. It is basically Brazil who is going to host it. So this statement is wrong and only one is going to be the correct answer. Fourth, consider the following statements and mark the correct one. PM Modi and President Xi Jinping met on the sidelines of BRICS Summit for a formal bilateral meeting for the first time since Galwan Valley clashes. Yes, this is true. From 2022 to 2024, trade between India and China has drastically reduced. This statement is wrong. In fact, in FY24, that is 2023-24, trade between India and China increased. So this statement is wrong. First statement is right. So only one is going to be the correct answer for. And with this, we have come to an end of today's session. I will be seeing you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys very well know what to do. Namaste. Jai.